I complicated the handout process here because I got 4 different things. As you can see, everybody's working feverishly to make sure you get your 4 handouts. I'm going to go ahead and start though. I'm sending everybody around this one here. This is on what I call a legal size piece of paper. It's got some yellow ink at the top or in the middle. It's very similar to this risk management checklist that's going to be out at the front desk. It helps us get in our mind, or it helps me anyway, get in my mind what are the crops I'm planting, what are my input costs on those crops, what's my risk exposure, and what risk management tools am I going to use to manage the risk so that everybody on the home farm is comfortable with the risk we're facing. You know, these are very much individual decisions because your ability to tolerate risk, the risk you face at home, is different than everybody else in the room. So it's a little bit difficult to make general recommendations since everybody's needs are very specific to their home farm. But I believe that thing I'm going to have out at the registration desk, plus this thing that's come around with the yellow ink on it, is a nice handy tool to get set in our mind what kind of financial or economic risk are we actually facing at the home farm. So those are kind of reference materials. I'm going to go ahead and start into my presentation. Let me just, I forgot one first. Okay. I'm going to talk about the grain programs available from your FSA office. But first, before we even get into this, because there's been a lot of press, I sense a fair amount of anxiety amongst grain farmers about these new FSA programs. And I think we might be putting a little bit too much effort on these FSA programs where we might better spend the effort on our crop insurance decisions. Crop insurance is still the primary risk management tool for grain farmers in the U.S. The federal government believes that it's going to be cheaper for the U.S. taxpayer if the farmer participates in the risk management cost. They're pushing more and more of the farm programs, and then that means more and more of the farmers, that the farmer participates in the cost of risk management. So let's not lose sight that crop insurance is the primary source of risk management protection for grain farmers in the United States. Let's not lose sight of that. So that's kind of what my first slide was about. I just want to remind everybody, let's not give up on our crop insurance. Now's the time, I think, to be even better informed and take more crop insurance coverage. Now I'm going to go over to the FSA programs. Now, the challenge with making an intelligent decision on which Farm Service Agency program for grain to sign up for is we got to be able to predict the future out through 2018. Does anybody here think they can tell me the price of corn harvest of 2018? If we could do a little bit of math and we could decide which program is going to mean the most to my checkbook. This is me trying to get the power to predict the future. I was unable to get that power, so I stand before you without the ability to tell you which farm program to sign up for. It's your decision based on your calculations of yields and prices from today through the end of 2018. We'll know in 6 years what we should have done. Coming into this, I think it's a little bit more vague. Okay, so I'm reminding you, crop insurance is still your primary price protection program, and if you can predict the future, you're in much better shape to decide what program to take. Okay, let's say we are friendly with the FSA folks down at the county office. We're going to go down and investigate these new programs. We got 2 decisions right off the bat that we need to be ready to decide on before we even get to the FSA office. This is an opportunity to update our base acres. We cannot create more base acres, but we can reallocate the base acres we currently have to other base crops within, I forget the words they use, that somehow balance to get our most recent historical planting histories. I'll just give an example. Let's say I've got 100 base acres on my farm. I got 20 acres of oats. I got 40 acres of corn. Oh, Jesus. So that'd be leaving another 40 acres for soybeans. I think that adds to 100. I should have wrote that down. So I got 20 of oats, 40 of corn, 40 of beans. Now's my opportunity, well soon, my opportunity to go to FSA and reallocate those 100 base acres. I'm thinking maybe one example would be I'm going to go to 0 on oats, and I'm going to go to 60 on corn and 40 on beans. You get the drift what I'm saying there? We can take our total base acres and reallocate them, but we cannot create more base acres. Of course, there's always an exception when you're dealing with the federal government, and the exception is if you're a cotton producer, you do have the magic power to create base acres. If you see the vocabulary word generic base acres, they're talking about cotton. You can just forget about that unless you're a cotton farmer. But for most people in Pennsylvania, your choice is to reallocate. And the reason we want to think about that is all the FSA program payments are are calculated on base acres only. So if we're going to try to, and I'll use the word take advantage of government programs, we got to remember they're on base acres only. And so this is our opportunity to make our base acres more palatable for our needs for this duration of this current farm bill. We also have the opportunity to update our program payment yields. Because the payments of these two farm programs are based on yield, maybe this is the opportunity where we want to get our yields recorded at FSA as high as they can be. Okay, so those are two things before we even get into the program decision-making process yet. Reallocate base and update our payment yields. Okay, it got its slide all by itself. The two programs I'm going to talk about only apply to base acres. Now the challenge with this whole thing, and I said it during my brief introduction here, the challenge for me was it's a whole new set of vocabulary words. So they're already rolling out this PLC. I got to keep repeating to myself, it's price loss coverage, I'm just trying to get used to PLC. If you were comfortable in the old farm bill with the counter-cyclical program, it's kind of, PLC's kind of the counter-cyclical program. If that makes any sense to you at all. The basis, or the gist of PLC, it's a price protection program. The federal government has set some reference prices. When the price drifts, if the price drifts below these reference prices, now we start looking for PLC indemnity payments. And this is available at no cost. That's why I started with my initial slide that crop insurance is still the primary price risk protection tool for grain farmers. I'm afraid people are going to see these government programs are free and get real tempted to give up writing their crop insurance sales agents a check. We need to be cautious though, because of the limited protection these federal programs have. We still need to keep our crop insurance in place. The PLC is free. Here are those reference prices I referred to here, that if they drift below there, we'll start looking to, or start doing some calculations on, are we going to get some checks from the federal government? We can see what corn and soybeans, the two primary crops that I focus on, are good. The reference prices are going to be. These are kind of our baseline prices, let's say. Okay? So with PLC, it's a price protection program. These are the baseline that if it drifts below those on the, it's marketing year average. It's not Chicago Board of Trade. It's not what I get at my local feed mill. It's marketing year average across the U.S. So these are real farm prices. The challenge is going to be if we do have a payment coming to us, which means we had some kind of a disaster at home. We're looking for a check from the federal government, but because it's based on a marketing year average, they got to wait till the end of the marketing year to figure out what the average was, so we're not going to get paid after the fact. You know, it could be, I'm not sure what the timeline is going to be, but it's going to be well after the end of the marketing year. So we had the disaster, we're going to have to wait a little bit on the check. But it's marketing year average prices, not Chicago, not what I get off my neighbor. That was one program, PLC, price loss coverage. It's a price program, those reference prices. This is the other program, one of the other programs. Agricultural risk coverage. This, if you can get comfortable in your mind a little bit, this is more of a revenue protection project. One of the differences right away we noticed between PLC and ARC is that PLC, there is no limit on how far the price can fall below those reference prices I showed you. With ARC, there is a limit on how much loss you expect the check to be paid on. If you get ARC, it's even a little bit more complicated. If we do decide to go to ARC, then we need to make the decision, are we going to go with the county ARC program or the individual ARC program? We can see the different levels of coverage. This is, the first number here is always the county coverage, the maximum county payment, the individual coverage and the individual payments. And again, ARC is available at no cost. I think people are going to see this, again, why I had my first slide there. People are going to see this highly touted farm disaster protection program. It's got no cost associated with it. I'm going to give up on my crop insurance and just rely on this. Well, unfortunately, if you did that, you can see how much of your loss is going to be protected if you're only going to be on ARC. Now there's another vocabulary word or acronym we need to get comfortable with the farm program, and that's supplemental coverage option. SCO is how it's being reported in the press. This is actually crop insurance that we're going to buy from our normal crop insurance sales agent, but it's tied to these federal government programs. If we sign up for PLC, we're eligible to take SCO if we so choose. If we sign up for ARC, we are not eligible for this supplemental coverage option. So it starts to, you can see how it starts to get a little bit tangled up here. PLC, ARC is something we do at the FSA office, but if we choose PLC, we're also interested in SCO, we got to go to our crop insurance sales agent to get that product. I believe I've been a little bit derelict in my duties the past couple of years, reminding farmers of the importance of the NAP program at the FSA office. My mentor did a calculation some months back and told me the number, I forget what it was, but I think it's less than 10% of the eligible NAP acres in Pennsylvania are covered in the NAP program. It's for crops that do not have crop insurance available in your county. You can go to your FSA office and get some NAP coverage. To me, it's fairly inexpensive, and the new Farm Bill made it a little bit more enticing to take. We can take 75% coverage level on NAP now, but it's something we buy at the FSA office. So let's not forget about this inexpensive NAP coverage that's available for crops that don't have crop insurance coverage available from our crop insurance sales agents. Now you've got this in your hot little hands because I know you can't read it on the screen. This was, I'll be bold enough to call Art Barnaby my friend. He might disagree with you, but he's not here today, so I'll say that. He's a professor of ag economics at Kansas State University. He's the fellow that invented crop revenue coverage insurance, if that rings a bell in your mind. Internationally recognized expert in farm risk, crop insurance, government policy, and his shop put this thing together. It kind of, to me, it makes me a little bit more comfortable with decisions I'm going to have to make, signing up or not signing up for the new Farm Bill programs. You'll notice that there's two different colors. This emphasizes, or should emphasize in your mind, although crop insurance and the new FSA programs are a little bit related, they're, to me, they're two separate decisions. We can do one without the other. So that's why they're two different colors. They are related, but they're not the same thing. FSA is these things, I'll call that tan color. We talked about updating our base acres. We talked about the opportunity to update our payment yields, and then it's decision time. Do we want PLC or do we want ARC? If we choose ARC, our next decision is, do we want to go into the individual coverage program or the county-based program? And you can see a little bit of the impacts of that. If we choose PLC instead of ARC, then we have the opportunity to get that supplemental coverage to add on to the crop insurance coverage we already have. In addition to that thing that's in your hands, there's a single sheet that has PLC, county ARC, and individual ARC laid out side by side to kind of give you a little bit of insight into how these products compare with each other for different features. I'm not going to go over that, but I gave that to you for your reading pleasure at home some afternoon, and also for you to have some conversations with your farm managers, your farm manager advisors, to make maybe some a little bit more intelligent decisions about what you want to do with this new farm bill. Again, I feel a little bit awkward standing in front of a group professing to be able to understand the new farm bill. One of the challenges, in addition to the new concepts and the new vocabulary words, the final rules haven't been written yet. So we're kind of a little bit on a limb here, but most of this stuff that I've talked about is set in stone. We just don't really know the final details of implementation yet. We don't know when sign-up is exactly yet. But that was my effort to a little bit better inform you about the products available from the FSA office from the new farm bill for grain producers. Remember, my primary point was crop insurance is still your major risk management, price risk management protection tool. We have the opportunity to update base acres and program yields, and then we need to make the PLC, the ARC decision. We need to be comfortable with SCO. We can go into all kinds of details about all of this stuff. But I think the terminology and some of the math can be fairly intimidating, so I didn't really want to talk about it in a group setting. I thought we just need to be more comfortable with some of the vocabulary words. And I believe this sheet here gets us a little bit into the woods about how the math works. One of the challenges, I think, at our FSA office is going to be, besides them being short-staffed and challenged by these new programs, is they're not permitted to give us advice about what we should do. Their only task or charge is to explain how the program operates and what we need to do to sign up. It's up to us to make the decisions on what's going to fit our farm risk management strategy at home. That, I think, is going to be the role of some of the young farmer groups, the grain marketing discussion opportunities you have through the winter months. Which program is going to fit my risk management needs the best? And it goes back to exactly what Alan was saying. The decisions we make, and I'm going to say late fall, early winter, when we sign up for this program at the FSA office, the decisions we make are going to stick with us until this farm bill is over. So I think there's a little bit of homework we've got to do between now and the end of this sign-up period to decide which one's going to fit our needs. One of the advantages we're going to have, because they delayed, because the rollout was delayed, we're actually going to be signing up for the 2014 crop basically after we know what the harvest is for 2014. That might give us a little bit of insight into which product, PLC or ARC, will be the best one to choose for 2014, because we're going to have a pretty good handle on prices, but it's not going to give us a whole lot of information to roll into how that same product will work in 15, 16, 17, and 18. But we will have an advantage, at least for the first year. We'll have an idea if we're going to make a check or not before we even sign up.
Would a PLC payment be in addition to like a crop revenue claim?
Remember, the FSA programs...
John, can you repeat the question for
The question was, will a PSE claim affect our crop insurance claim? Did I summarize it for you there? The FSA program payments are completely separate from our crop insurance payments, should either one of them occur. So if you notice on your sheet here, the FSA programs have payment limits, and in no way impacts your crop insurance indemnity checks. It's just, although they're kind of related, they're not really the same thing.
Marketing manager for Rain and Hail out of the Raleigh office, and I have Jerry Reichert here with me as well. We decided who was going to make the presentation, and I decided I would. And just now he said, good luck, and I'm sure I'm going to need it, because if your mind isn't exploding from what the two other presenters have already given you, it's going to explode right now. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, can you hear me okay? What I'm going to talk about is supplemental coverage option, which is what John mentioned, is the product that can be purchased through your crop insurance agent. If you have decided in this short period of time that you are going with ARP on all your farms, you can shut your ears and not pay attention, because you can't buy SCO. Okay? SCO is only available with the PLC option if you've chosen that route with the FSA office. So the few slides I have here walk through some of the different scenarios of how SCO works. So SCO provides area-based coverage for a portion of your insurance deductible. SCO is an endorsement to the following plans: a YP, RP, or an RP-HPE. And what that means is you have to have an underlying policy. You cannot buy SCO by itself. You have to have either a YP policy, an RP policy, or an RP-HPE policy in order to get the SCO endorsement. It's not a standalone product. And I have some visual graphs that will show how that all works together. The endorsement will be available in select counties for corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, cotton, and rice, starting with the 2015 crop year. So as you see that, we are already in 2015 for wheat, and there are counties in this area that do have this availability. So there are some choices that you can make and get SCO for 2015 wheat, and we'll talk about that as well. So how does SCO work? Again, it can only be purchased with PLC product. So when you register with the FSA office, if you have PLC as your FSA choice, then you can go with the SCO option, and it's not available in conjunction with the ARC program. It must be purchased with an underlying individual crop policy. The amount of coverage that you get for SCO, or how your liability is determined, is based on each individual grower's APH history. So if Nevin, for example, is buying an RP plan at the 70% level, and I buy at the 70% level, and we both buy SCO, our dollar amount of coverage for SCO could be different because our APHs are different. And again, the next several slides will show you a little bit of how that's calculated. But you can have a different dollar amount of coverage for SCO even though you have the same underlying plan as somebody else. The key piece here that we're going to talk about several times is you get paid depending on how the county does, not how your own farm does. So the trigger for a loss on SCO is how the county does, not on how your own personal farm does. The other key piece to note is this product is 65% subsidized. So if you do purchase this, 65% of your premium is covered by the government. And that's regardless of what underlying plan you have. So whether you have an 85% level or a 50% level, because you can't buy SCO at the 50% level, it's still a 65% subsidy on the SCO portion of that premium. So here's the first slide. I guess if you're sitting on that side of the room, you might have that cut off a little bit, but I'll do my best to kind of explain it here. This example here shows that this person is buying coverage. Yeah, maybe I can slide it over a little bit. This individual here is buying their underlying policy at the 75% level. So they have an RP plan, and they have RP 75%, and that's what you see shaded right here in this area. This person has decided to buy SCO. So SCO covers everything from 75% up to 86%. The key thing to know here is SCO always covers to 86%. That's kind of the magic number. Doesn't matter what you buy as your underlying plan, it will always cover up to the 86% level. And this next slide will give you a visual idea of what that means. This person here is at the 80% level. Again, it goes to 86. Their band of coverage for SCO is only 6%, therefore their premium will likely be less. I'm going to toggle back here. As you can see, all it does is just changes that size of that right-hand column's band. This person has 11% of SCO coverage. This person has 6% of SCO coverage. Again, it always goes to 86%. Going the other way, one more visual. Here's somebody at the 60% level. Their band of coverage of SCO is much greater than the other two. Okay, so SCO is always sold up to the 86% level. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now we're going to get into how the program pays out and how calculations are worked and how SCO is independent from your underlying coverage. This is a tool that's available on RMA's website right now, so any of you can go on there. If you go on to RMA's website, right on the main page, you have to go to Farm Bill Updates, and there's a thing that's called the Crop Insurance Decision Tool, and that's what this is. So these are screenshots from that tool. We're going to walk through this example here. So this example is for wheat, but it can be used for corn or beans, but we're going to use it for the purposes of wheat. So I'm going to get my pointer out here. This farmer here has an APH of 40. They're figuring out price at 702. So 40 times 702 is what you see in this calculation. They believe the value of their crop is going to be $281 per acre. That's what their crop is valued at. This has nothing to do with their insurance policy or buying SCO. It only has to do with what they believe their crop is valued at, $281. This next slide states that they are buying RP coverage. It's a little bit blurry, but they're buying RP coverage at the 70% level. So if you buy coverage, again, take SCO out of the equation. You're just doing your regular underlying crop insurance. You're at the 70% level. So 70% of your $281 crop value, you are insuring yourself for $196 of revenue coverage. Okay, does that make sense? Same as it's always been, nothing changes on that portion. There we go. Now you do buy SCO on this same plan. And we know SCO goes to 86%. So from 70 to 86%, you are buying an additional 16% of coverage. What these green boxes are outlining here is 16% of your $281 crop value is an extra $44.93 of SCO coverage. So we plug these numbers into this column here, and we say $44.93 of SCO. We say $196 of that underlying RP plan that you bought gives you a total of $241 of crop insurance coverage. That's what you're buying if you buy RP and SCO. You have a total of $241 of crop insurance coverage. 16% coming from SCO, 70% coming from your underlying regular revenue protection. Now we're going to get into the loss situation. There's a lot of green boxes on there, so stay with me. We're going to start down here at the bottom. And again, I'll read to you what it says down here because I know it might be hard to read. In this situation, harvest is finished, and this producer produced nothing. Complete wipeout of all their wheat. So their actual harvested production is 0. So if their production is 0, their underlying RP plan of 70 will pay them the full amount of this $197. And that's what is shown in this red bar. Okay? So that's no SCO involved. That's just saying what their underlying coverage is paying. SCO is triggered based on how the county does. Before all this even happened, the county had an expected county yield. And that expected county yield for this particular example was 45. They expected that this county was going to average 45 bushels to the acre. An SCO loss triggers when we reach 86% of that county average, or 39 bushels. That's the numbers you see at the bottom graph here. So in this example, if the final county yield, or the actual county yield came in at a 45, which was what they expected it to do, there is no blue here, which means SCO does not pay. Okay? The county expected to do 45, it actually did 45. Nobody in the county as a whole was in a loss, so SCO pays nobody. And that's why you only get paid the 197. As we work our way along the bottom of this chart, at 40, so say the county actually did 43 bushels, there's still not a loss, because at 43, we're still not hitting the 86% trigger. We work our way down, and the first sign of blue that we see is at the 38 bushels. If this county really did 38 bushels as their actual county yield, it would be below 39 bushels, which was 86% of that expected county yield that was there. So SCO does not start paying until it hits 38. The point we want to show here also is it doesn't pay you the full amount of SCO just because it triggered. It falls just slightly below that trigger, so you just get a slight payment of the SCO. As that actual county yield falls further and further, and when it gets to a number of 31, then the full amount that you bought of SCO is paid out. And of course, it never goes any higher than that because it's not going to exceed what you purchased. It hits that full amount at that 70% level where your underlying policy finished. So that's why you see here at 31 bushels, 29, 27, 25, it still pays the 45, and you still get your underlying crop insurance RP plan at 70 because you produced nothing. The other key point to remember is these two are independent of each other. So I'm going to show you the next slide here. We're going to kind of toggle back and forth because you're going to see some similarities. The only difference between this scenario and the one we just had before is that this producer now produced 15 bushels to the acre. They didn't have a total wipeout. They produced something. They produced 15 bushels to the acre. As you can see, I'm going to work a little bit backwards. Can you see that these blue charts here are the exact same as the other chart? Because the county numbers still determine whether you get paid the SCO. The fact that he did 15 has no bearing whatsoever on whether they get paid SCO or not. That's why the SCO portion of blue stays the same. The difference you see is that now since you produce something, your underlying policy doesn't pay you in full because you produce something, so you're not going to get your full guarantee. This green means you're not getting this portion of $105 because you produce that much. You will get $91. And as you get closer, as the county does worse, you get some of that SCO back. So the difference between these two, as I toggle back and forth, is only that green portion because you produce something. What we don't have a slide for is somebody that produced, say, 100 bushels. All that would be all green, but the blue still stays there. The blue is still triggered in the exact same way based on the county. This portion here is dependent on how your farm does. The blue portion is how the county does. With that, these are the three counties that Jerry had mentioned are in this area here. We've got Adams, Berks, Lancaster County. These are the actual expected county yields for 2015 wheat from the actuarials on RMA's website right now. So if you're growing wheat and you're looking to insure it for the 2015 crop year, these are the actual values that we pulled from RMA's website today. So going back to our charts, if you're farming in Adams County, they are saying Adams County in 2015 will have an average of 51.3 bushels. If you buy SCO, your trigger is 44.1. When I say your trigger, I mean the county's trigger. It's an all or nothing. Either everybody in the county gets paid on SCO or nobody gets paid. Everybody has the exact same trigger number here of 44.1 because it's 86% of what they expect the county to do. And so on for Berks and Lancaster County, you have 57.8, so the trigger is 49.7. 75 here, the trigger is 64.5. So here's your first opportunity to make a decision of whether or not SCO is the right option for you and your operation and what you've already bought into or what you're planning on doing. This is where you have to get involved with your crop insurance agent, is to say, I'm in Berks County. I'm very confident we will not hit this number. So you may want to put more money into the county-based portion and a lower underlying one. But it's risk and reward. It's how much of your basket do you want to put into the county and how much on your own personal production. How much risk can you afford to take? And it was, John had a great chart there with you know, laying out on that legal piece of paper, you know, what are your input costs and things like that. You have to make the determination, where is your comfort level? Are you going to buy at the 80% level and get 6% of SCO? Are you going to get no SCO and just go straight to the 85% level of coverage? Are you comfortable at 60 and putting a lot more eggs in the basket of the county? So that's your first decision tool right here, is knowing what those are. Now, since we're talking about wheat and we're in this time frame now where we're having to sign up for wheat and wheat reporting deadlines are coming up, there is a one-time opportunity to opt out of SCO. Because let's say you leave here and you think SCO is the greatest thing in the world, and you go to Nevin and you say, sign me up, I'm going to buy it. And then time goes by, and he puts it on there and he rolls you in it. And then time goes by and you go to the FSA office, and after looking at some charts and things, and you look at John's graph here, and you decide ARC is the better program for you. Well, now you just bought SCO with a plan where it's not eligible. You can't do the SCO with the ARC. You have the option to opt out of SCO with no penalty, as long as you do it by acreage reporting date of November 15th. Is that acreage reporting for this area? November 15th for wheat?
Pretty close.
So you can, in advance, buy SCO knowing that you haven't made your full decision on the PLC or the ARC, because you do have that one-time opt-out option. Now, it's our understanding that you have to, and maybe John can correct me on this, do you know when they have to decide for PLC or ARC? Is that by January 1?
We don't know the date yet.
Don't know the date yet, okay. We've heard the date of January 1. Regardless, it's still possibly later than when acreage reporting is. So you may have to make this decision prior to making your PLC ARC decision. So that's why they're given that one-time opt-out for wheat. Corn and beans has not yet been put out there as far as what county is going to be available for. You won't need that one-time opt-out option because you'll have already decided with the FSA whether you're going PLC or ARC on your farms. So it just says here, this provision recognizes that the ARC program rules may not be available when farmers decide on SCO for fall planting. As long as you opt out, then there won't be a penalty. The availability of other crops like corn and beans will not be available until, they said, late summer, early fall. To me, late summer, early fall is today. So we're guessing or hoping any day soon. And when that comes out, there'll be a map that will show what counties are available for corn and soybeans for SCO as well. And that will be right on RMA's website. So talking a little bit about claim payments. The underlying policy, so if you have the RP plan at 70, nothing changes. Your claim is worked the same way, the claim is filed the same way, the timeliness of your check is the same way, which means an adjuster comes out, works the loss, as soon as they finish it, and upload it to the insurance company, the check will be issued. That's different than SCO. SCO, we can't pay until the final county yields are approved and sent to us. And that will likely not happen for spring crops until the following year. So if you're counting on this as a financial tool or for covering expenses, you're not going to see this money until likely late March or early April, similar to GRIP or GRIP, or to GRP. So keep that in mind as well. You may get your corn and bean payment October, November, December. You're not going to see a SCO payment until the following year. So make that as part of your decision as well. So how do you decide how much SCO to take, whether to take it or not? The few talking points we've been stressing to agents, we've been doing agent trainings in the last 2 weeks. And we've just been saying the agent has to get with the grower and decide how much risk can they tolerate. It's going to be, if the grower cannot tolerate significant losses, then a higher coverage on the underlying policy is probably a better option than a larger piece of SCO. Okay? Work with your agent. There are several decision-making tools that are out there, similar to the one on RMA's website, that will help you sit down with your agent and work through different scenarios. There are some decision-making tools that are being developed by the University of Illinois and also Texas A&M. So if you're internet savvy and you can get on Google, you can check out those. They have some tools on there as well. And then the sheet that we passed out is RMA's fact sheet. It's a two-sided sheet that covers some of the highlights of what I just talked about as well. And last but not least, on Rain and Hale's website, just from their main page, if you go to rainhale.com, we do have a section down here that's called Farm Bill News. And that's a great link and a resource for any of the updates that we receive from RMA or from any other resource that talks about additions to the Farm Bill or clarifications. We've been posting it at that link as well. So just a few more resources that you can look at. That's not only SCO related, that's really all crop insurance related.